But I swear to God, if you f***ers mess up DK Summit, there will be blood. All the more build up to DK Summit, the half pipes would be amazing in it. Please, Nintendo. We dropped to the snow that looks pretty great, mind you. Perfect for, say, I don't know, DK Summit. Please, Nintendo, please!
It's beautiful. Welcome back to Man-Child values a single Mario Kart track more than his loved ones. We're here today taking a look at the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DK Summit DLC. Nope. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DK Summit Booster Course Pass. Nope. Donkey Kong Kart 8 DK Summit Pass. Nope. I'm still not sorry for robbing that old decrepit grandma. The Mario Kart 8 Summit Pass Donkey Kong Pass. What the f***? DK Summit. Okay, I'm clearly excited about a certain track in particular, but this is the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass Wave 4, meaning there are other tracks here too, so why don't we just get right into it? Tour Amsterdam Drift starts us off as one of the 3 tour tracks included in this wave. Yikes, okay, so there's a conversation here to be had first of all. Tour tracks can be cool, guys, I promise. The city tracks in particular, I mean, but so far we've probably gotten all the worst possible ones. The ones from here on, and especially included in this wave actually, have loads to them. Obstacles and variation across each of their laps rather than just empty streets. I can see why 3 is worthy of complaint however, because we do risk getting an empty course like London Loop, Tokyo Blur, etc. But I'll tell you that Singapore Speedway, well, that is not a bad course at all to end it on. And these city tracks this time round are the ones I've been telling you guys about, the cool ones. Amsterdam has plenty to it. No, it's not super amazing, but pretty damn solid, and I kind of have a soft spot for it with its similarities to some of my personal favorites out there. On lap 1, we go through Zaanstad, a neighborhood near Amsterdam with Monty Moles and windmills scattered all over, with a cute little bridge and a winding path that we get to in the first place by gliding on over a train and dodging under some windmills. We change over in lap 2 to the canals, with blasting currents coming from all different directions, shooting us on top of a boat with some lovely looking water throughout. Then in lap 3, we briefly re-enter going against oncoming traffic to blast into the gorgeous tulip fields to end off the race. The graphics aren't too flashy on this one, it's a typical tour city track style that I've criticised in the past. Very polygonal assets, lackluster grass textures, the plain tour trees, untextured buildings. But as you drive through all the different parts of the city with such a lively atmosphere throughout, with so many things to look at, that sort of thing really didn't cross my mind that much with how much detail and gameplay variety there is here. Now for GBA Riverside Park, with some groundbreaking discoveries. This one has grass and rock textures. Amazing! Jokes aside, having detailed textures on the rocks for once actually makes them look normal. I've hated these jagged untextured rocks for a long time, but this track is proof that all they needed to do was add texture to them. This is so confusing to me however, because I don't understand why this is just starting now instead of being there from the start. I just don't get it, and it's not even consistent throughout the rest of the wave, as I'll cover soon. But these complaints for the rest of the DLC have no place here. Sure, the style of most of the DLC tracks clash with the established style of the game they are already in, and this track is no different with the inconsistent trees, but I've accepted that at this point, and I'm just happy this track looks nice. The swampy sunset surroundings with the gorgeous water and waterfall that you shoot through, the dense lush greenery in the background, this is the feel you would imagine as a kid for this track in all its original 32-bit glory. Also love the addition of new enemies to populate this otherwise pretty basic track. The Tour, yes, that's what they're called, and they hold items with their breath. This track has definitely received a very nice glow up going from its original, with Tour to create the base for this game to expand on with new enemies, textures and lighting, but it's quite the short track with some slight cut corners from the original, even making it shorter than it needs to be. And there isn't all too much notable other than the swirling cave section, which don't get me wrong is awesome, but does not carry this wave enough to soaring new heights. But you know what does? Wii DK's Snowboard Cross, as it's known in the British English version, otherwise known as DK Summit. I have been begging for this track since the Booster Course Pass was announced, as some of you may know, and it's finally here. As soon as I saw they were bringing back half pipes, I knew this had to happen, as well as knowing of its presence in the Booster Course Pass leaked banner image that contained tracks that weren't yet announced at the time of March 2022. This course is my favourite for so many reasons. The physics on these half pipes was just so much fun, flying and tricking all over the place, but yet I could not have anticipated that this one would feel just as good, if not better than the original for me. With my impressions of the returning half pipes from last time in my Wave 3 discussion video, having an anti-gravity effect and having them send you up and down a lot faster, I think the Mario Kart 8 version of this track results in an even smoother, fast-paced and chaotic experience throughout the whole thing that doesn't feel like you're taking too long by being cool and tricking off of literally everything. The time wasted doing tricks just for the sake of it all, flying all over the place, shooting up doing 360s, curving and flying around turns like this that make no sense, but works just like the Wii anyway, and playing on 200cc doing these tricks feels absolutely bonkers. This here was a highlight, taking a bit of a detour and slipping into second while soaring so goddamn high, only to catch up last second and destroy Morton with a super horn. That feels like some crazy Mario Kart Wii shit, but with less time feeling like you're stalled in the air. To go through beat by beat and really show why I love this track so much, first I have to mention the music, which is like 70% of the reason why. This 8-star remix is everything I could have dreamed it would be. The little 1, 2, 3, 4 is there, it's still super synthy with flares of electric guitar in there, it's still got that cold but fast-paced feel with punches that hit even harder than before to score your flying descent down the summit. I have a kind of special attachment to this song, being the first outro song I used and continued to use occasionally when I first started making review style content. The music hitting that punch once you land after soaring over a view of the track to come is pure bliss, as you approach the same jumps from before with double item boxes for pity on the side, as I so often do fly all over the place and miss the ramps entirely. We move on to pass by the brand new, much more fitting DK statue, replacing the crappy old Mario one that was there for some reason, past the snow paths that put a freezing effect on your screen if you go through them, and down to the snowy bumps that are a lot bigger than before. Probably a good change, as you used to be able to skim past them fairly quickly. They've still got all the half pipes in the places that matter, with items to catch along the way, around this crazy thin S-turn that has a void that has you fall forever, presumably to account for allowing gap jumps around here. I couldn't pull off the double, instead going flying off the map, but I got the first part of it, and it's really cool that they're keeping this. Adds to the fun of playing this wacky course your own way. That being said about doing it your own way, if you do tiny little hops off the half pipes for speed, instead of sending yourself 9,000 meters into the air, only to crash down into possible disaster, don't speak to me, you're lame. This ending section has the item boxes positioned before you enter now instead of during, which can actually result in more items being thrown around in there. A change I grew to enjoy the pure chaos of. And of course the audience still roars when you trick in this area. It's such a fun course with everyone crossing all over the place in a mess of items. In addition to trying to evade the Shy Guys just minding their own business tricking off the ramps. The graphics are quite nice on this one too. The snow texture's nice like I said it would be. There are untextured rocks, but I don't really care that much here. They're not that prevalent, and the Wii one kinda looked like that anyway. They've got the nice snowy pine trees and ski lodges and ski lifts, as the first of probably only 2 courses that are getting remade from Wii that haven't been remade before. I couldn't be happier they chose this one. Then there's the huge main event, Yoshi's Island. Speculated about for ages in the files of Mario Kart Tour with various assets ending in the code YI, this course lives up to the anticipation I had for this track, serving as a kind of crossover track in the same vein as the Hyrule Circuit, Animal Crossing, and Urchin Underpass courses, with unique sound effects and replacements for items. But this time it's one that should have been an obvious Yoshi track from Mario Kart's very inception, Yoshi's Island, taking inspiration for its track layout from the title screen of the original SNES game by the same name. And holy crap, merely from the starting line, this track hits you with so much life and detail. The gorgeous orangey grass, the stilt guys, Huff and Puffins walking around, and starting in Yoshi's house from Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island of course, with Poochie sitting on Yoshi's mailbox. This track is a love letter to the game and is a lot of fun. A really solid track with so many elements to drive through. The obvious starting field section, moving into a little forest spring, gushing water out of the ground, through a castle and a cave, a snowy mountain that shoots you out like a volcano into the clouds, where as you glide down there's a view of the hilarious looking Neppy Nut, and a floating wing cloud that is fucking impossible to hit, that can summon a bridge with a much sharper turn than the regular path to launch you through the Flower Victory Ring at the end of the level. And it ends with its own exclusive victory and results theme from the original game that's been remixed, which is such a lovely throwback. But now to interject quickly with the something extra they add with nearly every wave, this time actually being a brand new character of Birdo. The first Mario Kart character we've gotten since the release of Deluxe in April 2017, like 6 years ago. I figure this time we only got the one character because she comes with a bunch of different coloured alts, just like Yoshi and Shy Guy, but for some reason their colours are specified in brackets instead of at the start of their name. This is unlike Yoshi and Shy Guy, just to bring more inconsistency to this game to get under my skin. But her addition is quite a nice return with all unique animations, and she fits right in, except on the character select screen. This does show, however, that about 5 more characters are going to come across waves 5 and 6, which is super exciting to look forward to. I'm personally thinking the 3 Kongs, Diddy, Funky, and Dixie, as well as Pauline and Petey Piranha. They just make the most sense to me for some reason. The addition of new characters is so fun, especially if they add all these other fan favorites I've mentioned, and they're free with the purchase of the Booster Course Pass. It adds some nice extra value to the DLC and fixes complaints of obvious missing characters like Birdo and Diddy if they do bring him back, that is, and should lead to this game actually having the best character roster in any Mario Kart game. Oh, and something interesting, they killed the Waluigi Wiggler meta by tweaking some character and vehicle stats. I can't believe it, but it's just been replaced by a new meta of Rosalinas and cat cars. Well, kind of expected, that's how meta works, I guess. Now back to the tracks. I don't think Boomerang Cup reaches the same heights as the Fruit Cup, but it is pretty great too. Bangkok Rush is an above average tour city track by default of having more to do than traverse plain streets, including top and bottom routes on a sky rail, tends to bounce on, and huge soaring glides through the sky. But I personally think they dropped the ball slightly with this one compared to its tour debut, with the inky piranha plants completely absent in the bottom section of the sky rail, which would have been wholly unique enemies to this track. In addition, they also have it so that you can't get up to and bounce off of the boats with canopies in the start section, which is quite saddening, as well as the weird, murky, polluted skybox where prior it was more like a roaring, fiery sunset. They also randomly removed access to the top left side of the Makelon Railway Market, sorry for butchering that, where in real life trains actually run through, which could have been interesting to see executed with an actual real train running through the course, with a warning or something as you enter. But ambitions aside, this track is still better than almost every city track in prior waves other than Sydney and Berlin in my opinion, but that isn't saying all too much. I do however really enjoy lap 3, going up the parking garage and bouncing all over the market, and then the chases on the railway line can also be quite entertaining with such cramped exits out of it. Then there's the standard map that's just sorta, yeah, I guess it's here, as a very surprising pick for what's possibly our last Mario Kart DS track. According to a certain very prominent prefix leak, we have another Mario Circuit. We definitely needed them as the 4th one, 5th if you count Mario Kart Stadium, 6th if you count Toad Circuit as another really basic circuit track. So let's compare this one to Toad Circuit. I believe that's fitting as they're both very basic circuits that are in the Booster Course Pass. In comparison to Toad Circuit, this one is actually rather pleasant to look at, I find, with Peach's castle glowing as the centerpiece, cute little Goombas stomping around, piranha plants shooting fire at you, a whole new forest revamp after you exit the tunnel that wasn't in the original, a Wiggler sleeping peacefully that starts roaming around in lap 3, and then a twisty S-bend to end it off for a bit of challenge. I think it's safe to say in the track layout and obstacle department, especially with quite the dynamic elevation, this track is definitely better than Toad Circuit. And although the visuals aren't amazing, they're certainly better than Toad Circuit lacking any textures, and it has these Mario Kart DS style trees brought in to replace the typical tour ones that I think look way better. Sure, still cartoony, but they don't look like they're ripped straight from a mobile game. And we have not the most detailed textures, but textures regardless on the jagged rocks, which is so refreshing to see. It's also quite vibrant in its colours, not blinding, but I feel it comes together quite well. Just disappointing if this map really does mean there's no chance for Airship Fortress, Delfino Square, or Luigi's Mansion. And now for the grand debut of the first Double Dash track in the entire Booster Course Pass, supposedly the first of 4 according to the aforementioned prefix leak, GCN Waluigi Stadium. Where the original took place in the sunset, I felt it was quite charming but appeared very muddy, dirty, and had an overall blend of lots of oranges and browns. Not the most pleasant colours. Certainly a wild track in its original Wii port, adding the half pipes to it, with all flying jumps through the flaming rings, but the Booster Course Pass remake turns every element of this track up to 11. First of all, as always, the graphics and overall visual style of this remake is fantastic, with this detailed ground texture looking like a nice, damp and grippy dirt track, now with all sorts of construction going on around the sides of this newly renovated track, with mountains of dirt all piled around. The tops of the dirt piles here don't look the best, but almost everything else in the track does, with the new stadium look with a nice big scoreboard, with the whole stadium all highlighted so much better under the night sky instead of the dingy browns of before. This remake retains the half pipes the Wii version had, but makes them far more useful as to reach new anti-grav sections that cut and speed through certain parts of the track. Using them to flip up to these spots feels so f***ing cool, especially the end with its glide ramp to soar through the fire ring. This actually marks the first time new parts have been added to a track that isn't from GBA, and it feels like a really unique way that even the base game couldn't do as it lacked the half pipes. And it transitions so well into anti-grav because the half pipes are essentially anti-grav strips that shoot you into the air. The only bad thing is the removal of the speed boost through the final jump, but gliding through it is a much cooler finish anyway. And now for the risky finisher, Tour Singapore Speedway, ending off with a tour track. But honestly, this was actually a worthy finisher. The track starts you off shooting to the top of the Marina Bay Sands, driving atop the infinity pool with such a gorgeous view while doing so, flying back down to start lap 2. Although a short first lap, that's only a mere taste of what's to come. We go through lap 2 now, instead this time turning into Chinatown, where the Tour Original had a whole new arrangement of the track's theme for this area specifically. And of course 8 Deluxe continues this awesome idea as we drive through the cute little area with an abundance of detail and things to look at. We then continue the quite lengthy lap 2 to soar across the Marina Bay with this beautiful view and gorgeous looking water, with it shooting fountains up at you that are actually trickable. And then lap 3, for the first time in these tracks, actually begins with a different starting line, in a way merging the idea of a section track and a changing lap track together as you drive with or against conveyors through the Marina Bay Gardens. It's such a sight to see, even with the minimal graphical style of Tour. But no, we're not even done as you go through the Helix Bridge, gliding over the Art Science Museum with the choice to land on a nearby roof, drop to drive along the water, or glide over it all, finishing of course through Chinatown once again to hear the final lap variant of the arrangement. What a track. It's easily the best city track yet, with a much less confusing layout than any city track before, due to having such varied parts and adventures you essentially go on through the race. And despite the simplistic visual style of Mario Kart Tour still of course present in the track, the art direction for this one being at nighttime, as well as so wonderfully capturing the unique atmosphere and colourful nature of the Singapore architecture, as well as driving on and throughout it all in such a creative and unique way, it's all able to carry this track to surely be recognised as a pretty fantastic course. Wow, what a wave this time. They only keep getting better with honestly not a single outright bad course in here. And although the increased effort with the textures and detail continues to perplex me, I'm glad nonetheless that we are improving. I think this wave proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that if the tracks are fun and past the fairly low graphic standards of waves 1 and 2, a lot more people are willing to look the other way and enjoy this booster course pass for simply adding more content to the game. Don't ever discuss any Nintendo leaks ever again. Next time this happens, we will kill you. Or remove DK Summit from the game.
No!